welcome again to Conegosyo. Thanks for having us. And of course, we want to thank no other than Senator Grace Poe for gracing this event. Grace Poe for gracing this event. I will have to start this forum by asking the question on everyone's mind, which is the decision of the COMELEC handed down yesterday, the second division at least. Siyempre pa, unang tanong ko sa inyo sa punto ito ay, ano po ba ang inyong susunod na hakbang ngayon na kayo po ay idiniklarang kansilado ang inyong certificate of candidacy?
Wala man lang warm-up sa tanong, diretso. Mga kababayan, nakatayo pa naman ako. Alam nyo, ito po yung kasalyado. Ito ay laban ng boxing lang. Yung round 1 sa set. Kahit papano, dahil na rin po pinanigan ng ating mga kasama, hindi lamang yung letra ng batas, kundi ang spirito ng batas. Tayo po ay nanaito. Ngayon po round 2. Talo po tayo sa round 2. Tanggap namin yon. Pero may proseso po dito. May isa pa, may end-bank. Inaasahan ko po na matatalo rin tayo sa isang division ng COMELEC. Bakit kamo? Sapagkat kung ang interpretasyon nila ng batas ay gano'n at yun din ang gagamitin sa kabilang division, malamang ay gano'n rin ang kanilang magiging kasagutan dito sa aming apilan. Subalit, hanggang Supreme Court po ang laban na ito. Ngayon, sinasabi nila, bakit ang lakas ng loob mo? Supreme Court, mas mahirap yan. Hindi po. Ang Supreme Court po ay binubuo ng iba't ibang individual. Nung tumakbo po si FPJ noon, nagkaroon din po siya ng kaso sa Supreme Court at ang ating ginagalang na si Justice Renato Puno ay nagdesisyon at sinabi, dapat ang tao ang magdidesisyon. Sapagkat kami na naririto ay hindi naman po boses ng lahat. We are the unelected members of society. So, patuloy lang po ang aming trabaho. Higit sa lahat ay panalangin. Ito po ay grasya ng Diyos. Kung nararapat, nararapat. Kung hindi, hindi naman ako nananabig sa posisyon na yan. Puwera na lang sa pagkakataon na mas mapabuti ang buhay ng ating mga kababayan.
Sa palagay niyo po ba meron po yung kilos sa ito para siguraduhin tuloy-tuloy yung mga sabihin na natin malapit sa inyong race for presidency? Sa tingin niyo mo ba meron po kumikilos sa likod ninyo para tiyakin na maya't-maya ay meron itong petisyon na ito? At kung meron man, sino po yun?
Ako naman. Parang hindi naman yata bagay sa forum na ito. Pag-usapan natin ang
okay lang po kay Mon yun.
Pero ganito po yun. Hindi naman uusad ng ganito kung walang kumikilos. Siyempre, meron talagang tumutulak para dyan. Pero galangin natin. Sabihin na natin na gusto talaga nila malaman kung ano ba talaga ang nilalaman ng konstitusyon ukol dito. Pero nga, sabi nga nila, masyadong liberal ang desisyon ng COMELEC, kaya nga para daw i-mar yung election ng 2016. So hindi natin alam.
Senator Grace.
Pakakuling po yun.
Marami din gusto malaman. Kagaya ng Lucy, isa sa mga may issue talaga yun. Pero maraming din gusto malaman dahil alam naman natin na maraming nangligaw sa iyo. Nangligaw ang administrasyon, nangligaw ang ibang kandidato bilang Pangulo, at maraming grupo. At sinabi nila na mas maganda, mas sigurado kung tatakbo ka lang bilang Vice Presidente. Baka nga kung ikaw ay tumakbo bilang VP, baka itong issue ng DQ at kung ano pa yan, ay baka hindi pa ilabas. Bakit hindi na lang tumakbo ka bilang VP? At sa ganun, magkaroon daw ng training at wala pang issue. Sigurado panalo na po kasi sa surveys naman, kayo po ang number 1, bar none, as a Vice Presidential choice of the Filipino people. And yet, Madam Senator, you decided to run for the highest office of the land. Can you please tell us why you decided to do this? And if I may segue to my second question, which is, what do we expect kung kayo po ay papalarin maging Pangulo ng Republika ng Pilipinas sa darating ng 2016. Ano po ang may expect natin sa isang Grace po administration? Maraming salamat, ma'am.
Maraming salamat, Attorney Toledo. Mas gusto ko pa kumakanta sa pag nagtatanong ka sa akin. Gayon pa man, doon po sa tanong ninyo, maraming nanliligaw. Sana ligaw na lang nung teenager ako, imbis na ngayon sa politika. Mas masakit sa ulo at sa puso ito eh. Sa totoo po, marami talagang nag-imbita sa akin at tumakbo bilang Senina. Noong mga panahon na yun, hindi po issue ang citizenship ko sa kanila. Hindi rin po issue ang aking pinanggalingan sa kanila. Pero sa ngayon po, ang kakalan po, sila po ang nagtatapon ng issue na to. Ngayon, bakit hindi ko tinanggap yun? Unang-una po, isa ng pribilehiyo ako konsidera nila. At ako'y nagpapasalamat hanggang ngayon na nakonsidera nila ako. Kaya lamang po, pag iniisip ko, ang sasamahan ko, kailangan naman din ay kumpiyansa ako sa tao na yun. Na yung tao na yun, bilang isang Pangulo, ay talagang makakagawa ng mga reforma at pagbabago na matagal na natin minimithi. Yung iba sa kanila ay direct ako nakatrabaho dahil bilang isang Public Order Dangerous Drugs Chairman ng Senate Committee namin. Yung iba sa kanila direct akong nakatrabaho at nakita ko, siguro, may magagawa rin naman ako. Kaya nga magandang proseso ng demokrasya. Ialay mo ang iyong sarili, pero sa bandang huli, ang taong bayan pa rin ang dapat pakinggan tungkol sa kanilang mga boses. Ngayon, ang pangalawang tanong ninyo, Attorney, kung sakasakali ako maging Pangulo, isa pang mabigat na tanong sa umpisa pa lamang, ano ang aking gagawin? Marami tayong pwedeng gawin, pero palagi kong sinasabi, kailangan unahin natin ang pinakanangangailangan sa ating bansa. Pero lahat ng ito, kailangan ko kayo, mga mayayaman na namumuhunan, ang mga small to medium enterprises na ating bansa. Bakit kayo kailangan? Ang number one na problema sa ating bansa ay kahirapan. Hindi po natin matutugunan ang kahirapan kung wala tayong trabaho. At hindi po magkakaroon ng trabaho kung konti po ang investments at puhunan sa ating bayan. So lahat po tayo ay konektado. Sabi nga po ng isang businessman, isang nag-sponsor dito, business should be in the business of ending poverty. The government should not just be there to regulate. The government should be there to enable. Therefore, the government, together with the private sector, has to be in partnership to create jobs for the people, to make it easier for you to comply, to inspire you, so that instead of giving you roadblocks to success, the government is actually helping you. Let me give you an example. Yung isa pong kasama ko sa opisina ay dating may barbecue stand. Dalawa po, sa harapan ng UANP sa Pasig. Ano po nangyari? Yung sa barbecue stand niya, kailangan niya mag-report ng taxes monthly, quarterly, yearly. Pag hindi mo nagawa ng isang beses doon, meron ka ng open case. So, ayaw na lang niya na ipagpatuloy yung barbecue stand niya kasi parang sabi niya, kulang pa to sa sakit ng puso na dinadanas ko para lamang itaguyod ito. So may mga nawala ng trabaho. Ngayon, chief of staff ko na siya. Number 4. Pero hindi ko sabihin, ito, number 5 sa bar exams. Pero sinubukan na mamuhunan bilang isang businessman. Meron ako isang kaibigan. Nagtayo, may malaking business na restaurant sa Makati. Pero in memory of her mother, na paboritong area ng San Juan, dahil nandun yung mga kaibigan niya from Manila na naglipatan, tinaguyod niya ang isang maliit na restaurant doon. Pero pag inisip niya yung hassle ng compliance at lahat ng paperwork na kailangan gawin, sabi niya, hindi ko na kailangan ng sakit ng ulo na ito. Ilang trabaho rin ang nawala. Kahit na sabihin mo 5 o 7, times 4, ilan pa rin mga bata at pamilya ang apektado dito. Kaya nga, that's what I'm trying to say, Attorney. We've already made big strides when it comes to our economic needs. we need another 6 years of sustained growth for that growth to be felt by the majority. Let us not break the momentum, but let us add on to it. Because nothing's perfect. We're not saying that everything's perfect now, but because of the leadership of our president, meaning he's a person with credibility, there's inspired confidence to invest in our country.
Senator Grace, well, you've answered all the questions quite well as far as the political side, but there's just one question that people are. You said that you just said, in fact, that you are not really, in other words, you're willing to accept whatever the results are with all of this disqualification. In the event, God forbid, it happens, are you willing to endorse any of the last remaining 4 candidates?
Okay,
Are they worth it?
that's a great question to hang on to, but we have to take a break right now. At unang patikim pa lang po yan sa ating usapan ngayon, sa ating pagbabalik, ikilatisin po natin ang paninindigan ni Senator Po sa iba pang mga issue ng bayan dito lang sa Go Negosyo Talks to Presidential Series. Kasama pa rin po natin ang pambato ng Partido Galing at Puso na si Senator Grace Po. At ang huli pong katanungan, bago tayo nag-break, ay kung kayo po ay mag-DQ, huwag naman po sana, I'm sure yan ang gusto ng marami, sino raw ang i-endorse ninyo po ng kandidato?
Endorse ko po si Mr. Babe Romualdez. Kaso bawal po ang substitution dahil ako po ay isang independent.
Ay, mami nyo raw ang magsasubstitute eh.
Pwede, independent ako eh. Wala naman akong partido. At saka ginawa talaga namin yun para hindi talaga isipin ng mga tao na bala ko lang talaga magpa-substitute. Ipa-umanhin po ninyo. Kaya ko po magsabi ng tao, alam niyo bakit? Kung sino ang i-endorso. Eh baka naman magtrabaho ng double time yun para ma-disqualify ako, para ma-endorse mo siya. Wag na lang.
Yes, so Luchi, I may shift now dun sa napabanggit na ni Senator about promoting micro SME and Go Negosyo as the Senate from for the past 10 years have been pushing for empowering Filipinos to be really globally competitive, para umasenso, bibigyan ng inspirasyon at mga kaalaman. So empowering Filipino is a solution to poverty. That is our belief. And also, empowering the micro, yung maliliit na negosyante para lumaki din sila. Solution to poverty. Ngayon po, meron pong programa, i-relate ko naman po sa programa na meron tayo ngayon, yung CCT, na nagbibigay ng mga cash sa mga, sabi nila, bottom of the pyramid, no? And ang worry po namin doon, while it might be a good social program, it might promote a culture of dependence, which is exactly what Go Negosyo naman is not trying to push for. Kasi ang pinupush natin, ang tinutulak natin ay increase ang kakayanan lahat ng Pilipino para sila po ay magtagumpay. Paano po kaya natin mababalanse ang polisiya na ito?
Sustain it.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong tanong. Okay, tatayo na naman ako. Pero hindi naman obvious nakatayo o nakaupo, parang pareho lang yan. Para dito sa tanong po ninyo, I commend you po and I have to thank my fellow Senator, Senator Bam Aquino, for the Go Negosyo Act. Alam mo, napakahalaga po yan, yung inyong minumungkahi na magkaroon ng negosyo center sa bawat munisipalidad, sa bawat city ng ating bansa. Ang Go Negosyo Act po ay mahalaga sapagkat parang ito yung one-stop shop in setting up businesses. Now, of course, like any particular law, in its infancy, we really need to improve on it. For example, you may have marketing support and also training support, and also maybe getting certain permits from the city. But you still need to include financing capabilities, a representative from a bank to be present in the negosyo centers, or also a member of the barangay, because that's where the bottleneck usually starts, from the barangay clearance. And also, you need representatives that say from Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, SSS, so that the local government or the Go Negosyo representative are not main compliance officers. Kasi mahirap yun kung puro mga temporary permits lang yung ibibigay nyo. Ngayon, sa tanong po ninyo, tama kayo, we need to empower our citizenry. Now with CCT, I agree wholeheartedly with the CCT. Why? Because 25% of our population is still within the poverty line. In Singapore, where per capita income is tremendously higher than the Philippines, still maintain some sort of financial assistance to their citizens that need help. Now, but how do we balance this? That's why our program is different, and I thank you for putting this together, the question of CCT and the question of micro, small, medium enterprises. What we are planning to do is this. Anyway, we have them in our database, and this is not just merely a dole-out. It's a condition for health and education. We should help them by including livelihood training programs. Because if the local government is involved, we'll give them pangkabuhayan, itong dapat gawin. Not only are we giving them extra income and a chance to be able to rise above the program of the CCT, but we are also giving them their dignity. Dignity is so important. Marami tayong mga kababayang Pilipino na umaalis at nagtatrabaho sa ibang bansa. At kahit na nagiging citizen na po sila ng ibang bansa, sila po ang miyembro ng minority na hindi po kumukuha ng welfare hanggang maaari. Kaya po ang Pilipino ay binibigyan lamang ng pagkakataon. Hindi po yan gustong humingi. Kaya po talagang dapat bigyan natin ng sigla ang mga benepisyaryo ng CCT. Kailangan talagang DTI o kaya merong Barangay Kabuhayan Act. Tinutulak ito ni Senator Loren. So in a particular province, if they're good at weaving a particular item, why don't we empower them to do that? Even housewives, we can help them do that.
You don't think that the TESDA is sufficient?
TESDA is very good, but in the TESDA, you have to make an effort to go there. Sometimes with the CCT, it's a community-based organization where somebody has to really reach out to these beneficiaries. Otherwise, maybe they won't make an effort to go kasi may inaalagaan na bata, may anak, nahihiya pumasok sa school. So, it's an outreach, truly an outreach.
In other words, the Senator is willing to continue with that program as pag kayo po ay naalagaan.
Yes, I feel that we have to continue. There's been a breakthrough also when it comes to health and education. Kids attend school because of the CCT. But we need to be able to check the database every now and then to make sure that we plug the leaks and to make sure that the beneficiaries are truly deserving of the government assistance that we're giving them. And let's keep it apolitical. Take it away from the discretion of certain government officials and just make it based on
Sige. One final note, and I agree siguro with the Senator's objective. In the end, what you want to have is, with that support, you want the CCT beneficiaries to graduate and not forever be dependent and relying on that kind of subsidy. So para bang empower din sila, para po sila ay umangat. Because that's what the
I think it really ends on graduation of students.
So, graduate.
Okay, the next question is from Ms. Mirna.
Senator Grace, bigyan po ako sa inyong karunungan, bigyan po sa inyong tigasan ng prinsipyo, at marami akong masasabi na marami kayong pinakita sa atin na talagang marami din kayong kalaman. Ang tanong ko po,
mga kaibigan ko lang po yung pumapalapak.
ang tanong ko po, marami din nagsasabi, siguro itong forum na ito may explica nyo na kayo daw ay bata pa, baguhan pa, at saka kayo daw ay babae, at saka paano daw magiging pinuno ng isang Amerikano na magpupunta sa Malacanang na maging pinuno ng mga Pilipino.
Maraming salamat po, Miss Mirna. Actually, si Miss Mirna, gusto ko ito dahil sapagkat may mga children's clothes, big and small, tapos Barbie, sa mga anak ko, yung mga heels ng Barbie noon, mga kasuotan. So mabuti na lang meron kayong ganun para at least affordable rin sa marami nating mga kababayan. Unang-una po, hindi naman ako Sa itsura pa lang, hindi naman siguro ako Amerikano, di ba? Height pa lang, out na. Sa bilog pa lang ng ilong ko, out na. Pero sige, ako'y tumira sa ibang bansa. Inaamin ko yun. Dahil sa aking asawa, nagkaroon ng oportunidad. Alam niyo, maswerte kayo. When you graduate now, you have options. You can work in a service sector, in a call center, and you can have a decent means of living. When we graduated in the very early 90s, the opportunities here in our country were limited. Masyado pong limitado. Eh medyo mataas ang pride namin sapagkat sinabi ng aking mga magulang, you have to be independent. Doon po yung naging pagkakataon. So sa tanong po ninyo, bagamat nandun po ako at sumama sa aking asawa, hindi po naman nawala sa aking puso ang kultura at pagpapalaki bilang isang Pilipino. Bumalik po ako sa ating bayan, bigyan ko po kayo ng sitwasyon kung ano nangyari. Namatay ang aking ama, at dahil ako'y nag-iisang anak, walang kasama ang aking nanay, sinamahan ko siya. Ang nakaupo po bilang Pangulo ay isang administrasyon na nakatunggali ng tatay ko na kalaban natin. Gayon pa man umuwi ako. Nasa kadiliman po ng yugto ng aming buhay yon. Pero nakita kong pagmamahal ng mga tao nung namayapa ang aking ama. So sa tanong po ninyo, kulang ba ako sa karanasan? Aaminin ko, sa lahat ng mga tumatakbo, ako po ang may pinakamaikling panahon sa gobyerno. Pero matanong ko naman po kayo, was it ever a guarantee that you will have an excellent or a good president or a president with compassion based on the number of years of experience that they've had? Nakita natin iba-ibang mga pangulo. Nag-umpisa pa sa vice president, naging pangulo. Naging garantiya ba yun na naging maayos ang kanilang pamamalakad? Ang importante po sa lahat, para sa akin, katapatan, kakayanan, mabilis ang pagkilos at solusyon sa mga ginagawa natin ngayon. Ang sinabi nila, ano ba experience mo MTRCB? That's an executive position. At nung nasa MTRCB po ako, kahit na maliit lamang na posisyon yon, ang inisip ko ay hindi lamang yung oras na naroon ako, kung hindi anong mangyayari sa ahensya na yon pag ako'y umalis na. So to institute long-term reforms is very important, legacy-based. So para sa akin, marami dyan, hindi na kailangan ng notes, napakagaling na nila. Hindi na kailangan ng advisors siguro, dahil alam na nila lahat. Pero pakikinggan ko kayo. Sapagkat kung isang isara ang buhay ko, yung mga ibang nanilbihan, punong-puno na nakasulat ang isang blackboard. Sa akin, marahil hindi mapuno, pero maayos ang outline at pakikinggan ko kayo kung ano ba talaga ang hinanain nyo at sabay natin isusulat ang maayos na kasaysayan ng ating bansa.
Next question is from Ms. Patricia.
Senator Reyes, so far what I've seen, all of your words have been so very inspiring. But I think what would inspire us a lot is a specific solution to the traffic from which we confront every day. I think that would be an act of mercy on your part if you could solve that for us. What is your specific plan for that?
Okay, just to give you a perspective, I actually understand. You have kids, you know, the time you waste. The time that you're stuck in traffic when you could be playing with your kids, you could be cooking your meals for dinner, you could spend a little more hugging time in the morning with your family before you leave. I truly sympathize with that because I'm a mother too with young kids. That's why it's been my advocacy. That's why I took public transportation to drive. We're privileged. We don't have to take it. But 80% of the cars on the road are public vehicles, and about 20% are public utility vehicles. Yet we complain. Well, the short-term solution, of course, we can easily say, let's take out the color buses, let's implement discipline, and truly that's a solution. But the real solution is to be able to develop an efficient mass transit system. Alam niyo po, there are 48 well, not trains, but wagon, tinatawag nila, that will be delivered, supposedly, to augment and to supplement what we need in the trains. That will add thousands of passengers taking the MRT. But not only that, let us decongest the cities by allowing development outside of Metro Manila. That's really a solution. But nobody will want to go there if there's no interconnectivity. The MRT project, the MRT 7, has not even begun. They're supposed to go to San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. So, I believe in PPP projects. But we need to be able to amend the Build, Operate, Transfer law. Because the problem is the right-of-way issues, the sometimes legal challenges na TRO, kaya ang tagal-tagal. Yung North and South Extension na binanggit, hanggang ngayon hindi pa nag-uumpisa yung North Extension. South pa lang. Ganon po katagal ang pag-roll out ng projects. And we really have to have the rail system that does not only transport passengers, but cargo across the islands. Kasi, I mean, across Luzon. Para at least yung mga cargo trucks, malipat na sa rail, maalis na doon. So these are just a few things that we can do. Now, this may be ambitious, but they say that we should have an underground transport system. Sabi nila, mahirap kasi yung makeup ng bansa natin, geography, mahirap yata yung gano'n. Eh, minsan na naglalagay ng train sa ilalim ng dagat eh. So bakit hindi pwede dito? Eh, pag sinabi nila, napakamahal magkaroon ng subway system sa Pilipinas. Isasabihin ko ito, pag-aralan naman natin. Number one, what is the cost of traffic every day? Billions of pesos. Now you're going to add more construction. That will add on. Can we really afford to have our economy stalled at this point? So let's see, baka naman pwede underground para less inconvenience to the students. Babatiin ko nga pala yung mga tiga Far Eastern University, pakitaas po, may kamay. Central Escolar University, CEU. Pamantasan ng lungsod ng Maynila. Philippine Women's University. Nakabata po si Professor doon. Hi, sir. At saka yung Lyceum University. Sa ating mga estudyante, ang pinagdidebate namin ngayon, oo, para sa amin, pero higit sa lahat para sa inyo. Kasi kung tama ang pamamalakad ng susunod na administrasyon, kayo ang pinakamalaking benepisyaryo nito. Kung pumalpak, kung kailan kayo mag-graduate, doon pa kayo mahihirapan maghanap ng trabaho. Kaya importante mapapagkatiwalaan ninyo, importante isang taong alam na ang layunin ninyo ang isinusulong. Salamat.
Alright, eksakto ang timing ng pagsagot ni Senator Po sa pinakauling tanong. Pero pa tayo tapos. But in the meantime, break muna tayo. The next question will come from Ms. Wee. Tampok pa rin po sa ikatlong handog ng ating serye, ang pagbago ng GP, si Senadora Grace Po. At ang susunod po na magtatanong ay Ms. Rosamond.
Good afternoon, Senator Grace. And also good afternoon to the audience. Senator Grace, you are number one in the Senate, being a senator. And recently survey, you're also top. All the survey. And yesterday, that news that came out, that you were disqualified for the second division. I felt bad. How did you feel?
Bumabalik. Kasi pinanghuhugutan. Alam niyo po, minsan tinatanong ko sa aking sarili, ano bang napasukan ko dito? Nag-umpisa pa lang po sa June, hindi pa nga ako nag-a-announce. Nagpunta lang po ako sa palengke ng Pangasinan. Pagbalik ko po sa Metro Manila, may press call na si Toby Diaco tungkol sa aking residency. Hindi pa po ako nagdidesisyon. Ngayon po sa tanong ninyo, hinanda ko na lang ng aking sarili. Aaminin ko sa iyo yung set decision para sa akin ang mas mahalaga. Ngayon sa COMELEC, it's a hurdle that we need to overcome. But again, I'm confident with the fact that we have a process and we will still go to the Supreme Court. But asking me about it, Honestly, I don't know if this is a good thing. Pero mas tumatagal, mas tumatapang ka na eh. Alam mo yun? Masyado kang pinubo. Masyado kang pinubo. Namamanas na rin yung mukha mo. Ang kutis mo. Ang dasal ko lang ay ito, na maging matapang ako. Pero huwag mawala ang aking pagiging sensitibo sa pangangailangan ng ating mga kababayan.
Mami, pinatatamaan daw po ba kayo dun sa pagiging sensitibo? May pinatatamaan daw ba kayo sa pagiging sensitibo?
Marami nga, yung mga kaibigan ko lahat sensitibo yan.
Luchi, para
Luchi, meron lang sanang tatanungin din kay Senadora dahil tinanong ko po ito sa ating mga dating panauhin. Yung dating panauhin natin, si VP, sa si Secretary Juan, na nandito, no, nakaraang linggo. Because your program and vision of governance will find meat in the people that will compose your cabinet. Kung kayo po ay iyalan bilang Pangulo, sino ang inyong i-appoint bilang kalihim, membro ng inyong kabinete, at bakit? Lalo na pag-usapan na natin yung mga problema na hinaharap ng bayan at kailangan talaga natin ng tao maka-implement and execute ng inyong vision and plan. Thank you, Ma'am.
Ito, kailangan magbigay ng vow of power dito mga to ha. Attorney Mike Toledo, Mr. Pedro Malvez, Mr. Ramon Lopez, Mr. Joey Concepcion, at marami pang iba. Yung ating mga entrepreneurs. Ipagpatawad po ninyo muli. Malaking commitment po ito. Hindi lamang dahil bilib sila sa akin o gusto nilang tumulong, pero syempre, kakusapin rin naman nila ang kanilang mga pamilya. Pero ito yung masasabi ko, galing ka man sa administrasyon ngayon, administrasyon noon, kalaban ka man, pero mabuting tao ka, may kakayanan ka, at meron kang plano para sa taong bayan, at willing ka na maghirap ng konti, mga ilang taon, kailangan ka namin. Sapagkat ito po ay talagang serbisyo sa taong bayan. Ang palagi sinasabi sa akin ni Cardinal Tagle, John 13, humility and service. Yun talaga dapat ang basihan. So, attorney, ready ka na.
Mike, vow of poverty.
Portfolio.
Magtatrabaho muna ako sa pribadong sektor. Meron pa naman ilang buwan, no?
Now,
Thank you, ma'am.
well, Senator Grace, you have said that you're going to get the best and the brightest to help you if you win the presidency. But there are a lot of people who are asking your mentor and your friend, the vice presidential candidate, Chis Escudero, how much influence will he have on you?
That's the question.
Okay, I know this is a question that's burning in your minds for a long time. Let me tell you that Senator Chis Escudero is one of the smartest people I've met, who's hardworking in the Senate and even in Congress. What is our history together? He was the one that stayed and fought the impeachment during the last administration, and even during my father's fight when he ran for president before. Now, why did I choose him? Aside from the bills that he pushed in Congress and the Senate, like for example, the minimum wage bill, exemption in taxes, as well as early childhood education, and being a very capable finance committee chair, Senator Chis actually helped a lot of people in his district. Now, having said that, I am a friend of his, he's a friend of the family, but I have other people also in my team who is helping us and contributing to what we should do for the country, because nobody has a monopoly of what should be done. So we should get from all sides who are really willing to help. So as I've mentioned before, and I think I was criticized for this, because they said, bakit kailangan ni Senator Grace ng mga advisors nila mo mag-on-the-job training siya? Eh teka, pasensya na po. Pero kahit na sino pang pinakamatalinong tao sa buong mundo ay may mga gabinete na dapat tumulong sa kanya. So mga kasama ko ngayon, katulad yan, meron mga membro ng akademi, sila Romy Bernardo, sila Mr. Shell Habito, palagi ko nang binabanggit, Mr. Fabella, Mr. Bobby De Ocampo mentioned, I also mentioned first time, he said it was fine. Not to mention members from the labor sector, from the agricultural sector, from the medium and small, micro, medium, and small enterprises na mga kasama. It has to be cross-sectoral. So Senator Cheese is there. But there are other people who are also helping me. Thank you.
Chief. Nabanggit ni Senator Grace kanina, ma'am, yung regional dispersal of industries. Dali natin ang trabaho opportunity sa labas. Lalo na ito ang magiging tulong din sa pag-solve ng poverty. We know also that about 30% ng population natin rely on agriculture. And agriculture is really based outside Metro Manila. And in fact, 60% yan pag sinama natin ang supplier to agriculture and processor. So napakakita ng nagdidepend sa agriculture. We would like to hear your position on agriculture development, balancing it again, this time with food security, because sometimes in food security, you may have to import some of the critical commodities and requirements. And how do we balance that with developing naman agriculture in our country?
Thank you for that question again. Alam ko si Henry, masaya ito eh. Kasi agriculture, Doña Maria. Yun nga ang isang sektor na ating napabayaan. Subalit isa sa pinakamalaking sektor sa ating bansa ay agrikultura. Ngayon, paano natin matutulungan? Lalo na po ngayon na meron tayong Asian Economic Integration. That particular sector needs government attention and support. Now, as you were saying, how are we going to help this particular sector? Until now, 500,000 hectares of land still need irrigation. Kulang pa po ng patubig. And with climate change, hindi lang po El Nino at drought ang kanilang problema, pati na po baha. Kaya nga may mga lugar sa Calasiao, Pangasinan, na talagang pag umulan, yung dike umapaw, wala silang mga flood control walls na kailangan na nila. So yun ay dapat natin tingnan. Ngayon, alam niyo ba kung ilan pa rin farm-to-market roads ang kulang sa ating bansa? 28,000 kilometers of farm-to-market roads are still needed. And with the budget that we allotted, parang we're only giving them 700 farm-to-market roads for 2050, which means with 700 and you have 28,000, ilang dekada pa bago natin matugunan lahat yun. So kaya ko binabanggit ay ito. Sa ating mga magsasaka, when was the last time we actually did soil testing? We did it decades ago. There was actually a suggestion that we should have top 10 crops that we should concentrate on. Coconut, for example, has a lot of byproducts. With the Go Negosyo Centers and with the DTI Centers of shared facilities for processing, we can help farmers actually transition into agribusiness. Alam niyo po ang isang coconut tree, pag hindi po fertilized, ewan ko po pwede ako magkamali dito, pero let's say 60 coconuts ang pwedeng kunin. Pag na-fertilize po yan, pwede po yan mag-triple to 180 coconuts. Pero katulad po ng ating mga magsasaka, ang mga niyog po natin ay matatanda na rin. Kailangan na natin maglagay rin ng mga bago. So, you were talking about food security. Now, there's always a debate between whether we should pursue food security or whether we should pursue food self-sufficiency. And I say, we should always pursue that which will benefit our farmers and our consumers the most. So let us help our farmers, for example, after doing soil testing. We cannot compete, let's say, with Thailand because they have the Mekong Delta, River. Dito sa atin, siguro pwede, dito sa lupain ninyo, ang bagay dito ay kape o bagay dito ay ano. Bigyan natin sila ng highest yielding for their land. That's the best way because they can buy the rice themselves later on. but they have the other crops to supplement it. But the government should definitely step in. I don't think any agricultural industry anywhere in the world succeeded without government support or intervention. Huwag natin, huwag natin gawing least priority yan. Kasi at the very least, it provides us with food.
Dagdag ko lang, ipaplat ko lang, thank you ma'am. Si Go Negosyo, magiging katulong din ni Senator Grace kung siya ipagpapalain na dahil si Go Negosyo nagtutulak din ng mga iba-ibang negosyo, models and agriculture, lalo na yung mga value adding at yung mga agriculture projects na may mga technology support that will increase yields and efficiencies. So sana po yun po ang maitagdag natin sa mga programa in the future.
Tama, alam mo, kaya nga maraming salamat. Yung shared facilities, kunyari yung coconut po, may cocoa water, pwede mong gawing virgin coconut oil. Tapos kunin mo yung husk, hindi man ako expert dito, pero cocoa coir, alam mo yung cocoa coir, doormat, this, para kung saan ginagamit, brushes. Kaya nga tree of life ang tawag dyan. And if we're not number 1, we're number 2 exporter of coconut in the world. So this is actually our strength, but until now I still talk to the farmers, they still have problems with their cocoa levy fund. We should actually with that money put up an institute to help the technology development of the coconut farmers for their industry.
Okay, I'm in the agriculture, but not the rice. We are in the aquaculture, in the seaweed. And we have a problem because we are 7,700 islands and they're being planted all over the islands. Our problem is the transportation. Mahal ang transportation. They were not able to transport to the factories. And even land transportation is also very expensive. Like they're having Ilocos, but they couldn't transfer it to Manila, to our factories, because the transportation is very expensive. Even the sea transportation is also very expensive. This is the reason why we're being hampered by increasing the production of seaweed. What do you think about that, Senator Grace?
Well, ma'am, thank you for bringing to mind that particular concern of your industry. Certainly, having a rail system that goes across Luzon would really help. Kasi add-on na lang yung isasakay doon. Malaking tulong yan at I really think it's just political will. With the PPP, with the BOD, we should really convene the JELA, the Judicial Executive Legislative Advisory Council, para nag-uusap ang presidente, miyembro ng legislatura, miyembro ng judikatura, para pag may mga kontrata, huwag na ninyo itong i-challenge sapagkat we should all be on the same page when it comes to national development. So this is really interconnectivity, again the problem, rail. Another thing is, there's certain bridges that they are proposing, like Iloilo to Guimaras, yung mga ganon, na pwede natin isipin on the long term. Why not? We are an archipelago, therefore, why don't we spend on sea bridges? It's important. This is money that will not go to waste if it will be easier for us, not just for regular passengers, but as you said, for the cheaper delivery of goods.
Thank you, ma'am. Right, at bagyan muna po tayong puputo ng ating usapin ngayon.
We're one of the highest tax countries in Asia, both personal and corporate income taxes. The average corporate income tax is 22% in Asia. We're at 30%. And then of course we know 30%, 32% is our highest tax bracket for personal income tax. Let me give you an example that you can relate to. Ang mga teachers po, let's say teachers na pinakamababang sweldo, ay kumikita ng 18,000 pesos a month. Pag sila po ay nagbayad ng buwis pagdating ng pag-file nila, umaabot po ng halos 30,000 ang binabayad nilang taxes. Meaning, ladies and gentlemen, you will actually have to work at least 2 months a year to be able just to cover your taxes. Now, why do we have to reform our taxes and the regulations? Number one, it's too onerous. Number two, people are just working to comply with the regulation, which is counterproductive. People are not anymore excited to work because they feel that it will just go to taxes. Number three, if we want to really be competitive with the Asian economic integration, we have to be able to compete globally and make it enticing for them to set up business here. Why would they want to do that if they have to pay a higher corporate income tax with the less than ideal infrastructure that we can offer them? So in the meantime, we have to incentivize them with those taxes. And if you study, I'm not an economist, may mga Laffer curve pa silang sinasabi, di ba? Okay, so if we deal with that, the higher the taxes, the lesser the income later on. It will become counterproductive. Russia had this example. They had several tax brackets and finally they decided to have 15% flat tax. I'm not saying that's what we're going to do right away, but do it in tranches. But then 15% flat tax, and they were so surprised that they actually had 26% more in income. So by lowering taxes, you make compliance much easier, you widen your tax base, you have more fiscal space. So I am for it. I am definitely for lowering taxes. If I do, lower taxes.
And now I have to ask you about the person. Because people do think that there is absolutely nothing wrong with just complying with the law. It's just that the person sees that there is an issue. Do you think that is an issue?
Ano lang naman yun, hindi man.
Leadership is always an issue. It has to be a person that can produce.
Susunod lang si Kim sa batas.
I think she's done her job, but there's also a question of, I would like to ask, why don't you answer the question? Would you like the same one? I mean, why me? Please raise your hands if you would like to retain. Never mind, I won't put you on the spot. But I think that it would be too presumptuous for me to say that yes or no. First of all, I haven't spoken to her. But I would want you to know that I listen to you. I listen to your feedback. I want to know this is somebody that will really be able to help you, inspire you. Credentials are important. But you should also be able to inspire and encourage the industry, not just scare them.
Senator Grace, I guess, maybe it's also the elephant in the room. In past presidential elections, foreign policy was never really discussed. But I believe, and I think a lot of the people here in this room would believe, that now more than ever, foreign policy must be an important part of your platform or vision of governance, especially with what is happening with China. I don't have to summarize what's going on, but we know that China is in this very aggressive mode, and the Philippines is right smack in the middle of an ongoing arbitration case. So what will be, maybe specifically, what will be the policy of the Poe administration in dealing with China?
I answered this before, but let me say, our constitution needs to be upheld. So we have territorial integrity, national sovereignty, and national security. These are the three things in our constitution. Having said that, we should continue a culture of cooperation and amity among other nations. This is important. Now with China, well, our case is already in arbitration. Let us work under the regime of the UNCLOS, but let us not forget that there are other avenues of relations with China. Cultural, education, economic, which we can pursue bilaterally on those levels. Now, we should also engage our other ASEAN neighbors to be able to constructively convince China to follow a code of conduct within those areas. Now, we were talking about international policy. It's very important. Why? We are a globalized community, as I said. But one of the things that we need to be able to revive is the National Security Council. The President used to have this with other members of the government, past presidents, past administrations, and they talk about security issues in the country. And this is important because there's an exchange of ideas that say you have members from certain left-leaning parties groups that can also contribute to the intelligence format that we need to be able to pursue. We cannot just be reactive. We have to be able to feed the President what the future might hold when it comes to certain policy issues. Now, we have different attaches all over the world. We have our embassies. Not only should we have security attaches, we have economic attaches. They can be there trying to find out, ano na bang trend dito sa Amerika ngayon? Uy, uso ngayon dito yung ganito. Uso ngayon ng cocoa water. Because of the electrolytes, pag nag-workout sa mga gym, send it to the embassy kaagad. Uy, coconut industry, this is what they need now. This is a hit. So it's not just security intelligence, but also economic. So this is all for the
Just a brief follow-up of this follow-up approach, because you talked about economic with China. Just briefly, would you, if for example, become president, would you allow for the moment, without sacrificing issues of sovereignty, the ongoing arbitration case, issues of jurisdiction, without sacrificing territory, of course, allow for the moment to set this aside and allow both countries to conduct a joint exploration of the area, specifically where there is new gas, that is SC-72. We know Malampaya is about to run out of gas, and here is an area which has been proven to be highly rich in gas deposits and can power our energy needs. Would you allow for the moment both countries to perhaps conduct an exploration and find out if there's really something underneath there, commercially viable? Because if there's none, what's there to quibble about?
I think the important thing is the President should always have the interests of our people in mind. Now, having said that, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not really involved in this arbitration case, but there are certain technicalities. If we conduct, let's say, a joint exploration with China, we might, on a technicality, abdicate certain things there that we are claiming in our position. But if it will be allowed, let's say, no, this is still an ongoing case. It's just a private study. Maybe we can do it not even through governments. Let's do it through academic institutions to study it. Diba, parang there's no diplomatic tangling. Maybe there's always a way around. Ang ibig sabihin, kung talagang nanaisin para sa ikabubuti ng mas nakararami, ba't hindi? Pero syempre, meron na tayong mga ibang pinaninindigan ng mga kaso na kailangan lang natin pag-aralan mabuti na hindi naman natin ito isinusuko.
My question is about big investors and small investors. And regarding the big investors, my question is, what's your position on land ownership of foreigners? And the small investors is about, like, if you go to Divisoria right now, most of the small stores are now being run by China people, not the Filipino Chinese, but people from China. And what are we going to do about it? And how can we help our local investors, I think small investors?
Thank you, Ms. Mirna, for your question. Okay lang ba napauuna muna? Pagod na ako sa workout. Okay. Doon po sa tanong ninyo, tungkol dun sa mga vendors, talagang enforcement ng batas. Kailangan BIR compliance, kita naman doon, immigration compliance. Kasi kung walang compliance, nagkakaroon din tayo ng problema sa standard ng labor. Ibig sabihin how labor is treated, and then also the right wages being paid. So they have to have accountability. Now, when it comes to your question, what was the first question?
Foreign ownership.
Foreign ownership of the funds. Di ba pala? Ipagpatawad po ninyo, sa puntong ito, hindi ako naniniwala sa foreign ownership of land. Bakit? Sapagkat marami pang mga Pilipino ang hindi pa kaya pumili ng sarili nilang lugar. Pero, yun lang. Pagdating po sa economic provisions na makakatulong rin sa atin, I am open to the review of our economic provisions in our Constitution. Why? Because the Constitution is a living and breathing document. It cannot be static. Let's talk about it, let's discuss it, but we should have certain mechanisms in place before we open it up. How? let us identify the fragile industries that need support from the government. So that even before we tackle constitutional change in the economic provisions, we already know what our framework is. How are we going to help the farmers? Hindi yung bukas lang tayo ng bukas dyan. Tapos darating yung mga lobbyists. Nasabihin, ito, isingit nyo. May national plan tayo. How are you going to help? So what does the government have to do? Meet with people like you. How can we help you so that you can create more jobs for the people? So I am not close to the idea of having certain economic provisions amended or economic provisions in the Constitution changed. But there are certain things like land ownership. I think we can think of long-term lease for as long as there's a government guarantee for the lease, may papeles na pinanghahawakan ang namumuhunan. At pangalawa, if that lease specifies for what purpose, manufacturing, employing a certain number of jobs. I don't know. I don't want to over-regulate, but I feel that we have to protect also our Filipino investors, our Filipino businessmen and workers.
Kasi isa po yan sa pinakamalaking balakid sa foreign direct investments kung tawagin po nila. So ano po ang inyong paninindigan para nga po mapataas po po ang bukas na magpasok ng foreign FDI sa bansa kung ang inyong pong paninindigan ngayon ay palakihin po na ang mga provision of constitution as it is. At saka kilala rin po kayo for some left-leaning congressmen in your party.
I wouldn't want to call it left-leaning but progressive. First of all, no, let me clarify. I am open to the review of constitutional change for the economic provisions. Hindi ako sarado dyan. As I said, the Constitution is not stagnant. We really need to be able to make sure it's in tune with the needs of the times. But how can we increase foreign direct investments? I've already mentioned it. The Philippines, we have 6 billion foreign direct investments. Vietnam is at 8, Malaysia, Thailand is at 11, and Malaysia is at 12 billion. So ang layo talaga natin. Anong kulang natin? Number 1, our high tax rates. Number 2, ease of doing business in the Philippines. We're like 114 out of 144 in the number of steps to be able to comply with business permits. Number 3, infrastructure. And this is in no particular order. Number 4, it's an order situation. All of these things will have to be addressed for us to be able to have an encouraging climate for foreign direct investments. Mr. Mayor.
Well, you've answered most of the economic questions already. There's one question. One of your opponents is very strong with peace and order. He uses a lot of expletives to express himself. So, what is your plan? Because apparently this is a very major issue now. A lot of people are concerned about peace and order. Seems to be criminality, seems to be on the rise. What is your plan on how you can tackle this problem if you become president?
Which candidate, sir?
The one who doesn't like the Pope.
Actually, the one who ran because you were not disqualified in the Senate. Apparently.
I wonder now that I'm disqualified in the Commonwealth. Usually when I think that was a question, ma'am, you had earlier, you said, babae ka. Kayo ba'y mga asawa, mga kapatid o ate? Alam naman ninyo mga babae, malumanay lang, pero may angking tapang at galing. Pero sa bawat kilos natin, hindi naman tayo nang bubugbog. Makuha ka sa tingin. Tutunin ko ang allowance mo. Hindi kita kailangan sakalin, pero marami akong pwedeng gawin sa'yo. Sa ating mga kababayan, naiintindihan ko po ang inyong mga problema pagdating sa peace and order. Ako rin ay isang nanay. Sinabi ko nga personal ang pakikipaglaban sa mga nagbabanta sa ating seguridad. Pero may ibang paraan po dyan. Para po sa peace and order, ito po ang una natin gagawin. Na medyo napabayaan. Siguro kasi itong administrasyon na to, pinapangalagaan nilang ekonomiya natin, medyo nakalimutan po ang problema ng droga. Number one, idideklara ko buong national security threat ang drugs. Kasi pag ginawa niyo po yan, hindi lang po mga PNP kundi ibang sangay ng gobyerno ay makikipagtulungan na para masubuan ito. Ang sabi nga yung top 100 na mga wanted, kasi may database yan, ay dapat nakapaskil sa lahat ng lugar. Pangatlo, dapat meron tayong database talaga ng mga kriminal dito sa ating bayan. Pero importante, walang makakapigil dyan sa mga yan, kundi the certainty of punishment. Ibig sabihin, ang ating judicial process dapat mabilis at hindi lamang kinikilingan ang mga teknikalidad, kundi kung anong nararapat gawin. Ipakulong mo yan ng 10 taon, 20 taon, may iisip yung iba kung gagawin nila yon. Ang problema, ang dami nakakawala eh. Kaya nga po, part of the amendment that I did to the Dangerous Drugs Act, dati po, I didn't realize na kung merong mga drug busts, kailangan 3 kayong magkakasama. Member of the DOJ, member of the barangay, and 1 media. Pag kulang sa 3, o wala doon, naging 2 lang, 1 lang, tapon yung kaso na yun. Kaya palang dami mga pushers na nakakalusot. So inamyendahan po natin na pwedeng 2 na lang at hindi pa rin makakakomply as long as there's overwhelming evidence, pwede na sila makulong. Kaya mas madali na silang nadedeta na ngayon. Ngayon, ano pang isang ginawa natin? Akala kasi nila babae, baka walang kakayanan sa peace and order. Di po. Isa pa sa aming tinulak sa budget ngayon ay na magkaroon ng National Emergency Line ang buong Pilipinas. At ako'y nagpapasalamat sa PLDT Group sapagkat matagal na nilang tinagpunan ito na hindi ginagawa ng gobyerno. Pero ngayon, dahil kay General Marquez, nabigyan pansin at ni DILG Chairman Sarmiento, nabigyan mo ng pondo ito. Kaya ngayon, pag may denial kang 118 nationally, meron na tayong emergency line. Now, meron pang mga bugs to, hindi pa to perfect. Kasi ang hiningi lang nila parang 48 million pesos. Basta less, not very much. So they still don't have the software to be able to identify exactly where the call is coming from, which is what they have in other countries. So we are trying to fund that technology that is needed to make it more efficient. But definitely, we need to be able to assign a good PNP chief. And I think that little by little, the PNP chief that we have now is certainly a better example and is more capable of doing his job. Pero ang presidente, kung sino man yan, ay dapat ipakita, I will not tolerate corrupt judges, or corrupt police officers, or corrupt government officials, and throw them in jail after due process. Because otherwise, if you do not set an example, people will just be emboldened to continue the cycle of corruption.
Okay, marami pa po tayong pwede pag-usapan tungkol sa estilo ng pamumuhan ni Senator Grace po sakaling siya po ay manalo bilang presidente. Huwag po kayong aalis, mababalik po ang Go Negosyo Talks with Presidential Series. Nagpapatuloy po ang Go Negosyo Talks with the Presidential Series at kasama pa rin po natin ang pambato ng Team Galing at Puso na si Senator Grace Go. At ang susunod po magtatanong ay si Ms. Roxanne. Go ahead po.
Let's go back to the decision yesterday.
Talagang mawala sa desisyon na. Wala akong kailangan doon, ma'am.
Ako yata hindi makatulog eh. Okay, you mentioned that you're going to appeal to the Supreme Court, and I hope the Supreme Court justices will still remember that our government is by the people, for the people, and of the people. Yeah. Okay. My question is, in case they forget about that, and you're going back to the Senate, are you going to repeal the law that deprive you of being a presidential candidate?
Well, ma'am, that's assuming that I can still go back to the Senate. On the other hand, I think it's about time that we also become more specific with the law. I think the law is really there to empower people, not to be able to, not to take their opportunities away. And especially, alam mo, minsan tinitira ko, ano na naman to? Balik na naman tayo sa founding issue. Ganyan po talaga yung istorya ng buhay ko. Hindi ko talaga nahihiliwagaan rin ako, hindi ko talaga alam. Bata pa lang po ako, hinahanap ko na kung sino yung mga magulang ko. Hindi lang po ito drama, totoo po ito. Kaya nga nung, palayong kinakausap, yung pamilyang nakatagpo sa akin, baka naman kilala niyo, baka naman kinahihiyalan niyo yung aminin na isa kayo doon. Pero parang hindi ko talaga alam. Ang sitwasyon po ng buhay ko, na hindi ko kilala ang aking magulang, ay hindi dapat maging balakid para ako ay pwedeng manilbihan sa bayan at kayo rin po. Dahil hindi naman ninyo kasalanan kung paano kayo pinanganak. Ang magiging kasalanan ninyo ay kung paano kayo lumaki. Ilang ko lang po, talaga bang nakakabawas sa inyo ng payagan ng mga katulad namin na sumuko? Eh di kung hindi karapat-dapat, hindi naman ipoboto. Pero, pag iniisip ko rin, alam mo, ginawa ko rin to para sa tatay ko eh. Mahal ko yun. Magaling, matulungin sa tao, hindi mayabang, kahit matapang. Siyang inspirasyon ko. Kung hindi naman ako matuloy sa mas mataas na posisyon, tanggal na rin, bigat na yun sa balikat ko eh. Kaya lang ang pasan-pasan ko na iniisip ko palagi, ay yung pangarap din ninyo na maging maayos ang ating bansa. Kaya kahit mabigat ang pagsali na ito, kinakaya, di ba? Kayanin.
Ma'am, naman na magtatanong, just very quickly, nasabi niyo na po minsan na wala namang exclusive franchise ang LP or si Pinoy sa daang manuwin to imply na kayo rin naman ay naninindigan sa ganong klaseng prinsipyo. Kung kayo po ang tatanungin, ano po sa tingin ninyo ang tatlong sabihin na natin mali o malpak na ginawa ng administrasyong ito na saliwa sa daang manuwin na pinangalalula?
Kailangan lang ako magpakatotoo. Pero yung tatlong mga bagay, unang-una, sa tingin ko, medyo nagkulang tayo sa infrastruktura. Hindi ito by order of importance. Infrastruktura, importante yun. Pangalawa, although hindi naman natin sinasabing buong kasalanan nila, pero dapat mas naging napadama pa sa mas nakararami ang paglago ng bayan. Mas marami sana nakasama. At pangatlo, sa tingin ko rin, yung kaligtasan ng ating mga kababayan. Importante talaga na marami akong nakakausap na namumuhunan, mga businessmen, na sinasabi nila talaga, inaamin nila, peace and order talaga yung problema sa malalayong lugar sa Pilipinas at kahit dito sa atin. Pero sinasabi ko nga, ang solusyon na akma rito ay kailangan rin natin isipin mabuti sapagkat minsan, pag nasusobrahan din, ang iba naman nating mga karapatan at ang iba nating mga kalayaan ay baka mawala rin. Kaya importante talaga na magaling ang liderato, maaasahan, nagpapakita ng halimbawa, tinatapon sa kulungan na walang jacuzzi ha, at saka kulungan na walang stage, kulungan na walang money counter o kaya lalagyan ng mga relo ng mga Rolex, kulungan, correctional facility. Pag nakikita naman nila yan na walang nakakaangat sa batas, mayaman man o mahirap, sa tingin ko, mas magkakaroon ng pagsunod, disiplina at respeto ang mga kababayan. Kasi minsan sa ibang lugar, oo nga, tahimik, mapayapa. Pero madalas ang mga mahihirap ang nagbabayad, sila yung nasasandwich o sila yung nawawala.
Lucy, kukonek ko lang kanina sana sa statement ni Senator Grace, yung lahat ng pagsubok and challenges, naalala ko ang mahal natin sa FPJ. Gano'n naman sa FPJ, nabubugbog muna, tapos nagtatagumpay at bumabawi at nananalo.
Friend mo ako.
Okay, pagpatuloy natin ang pagtatanong since we're on the topic of politics. No, ano ho masasabi niyo dito sa paghandle ng gobyerno sa laglag bala? Halimbawa, since napag-usapan nga po yung kaligtasan, ang you know, I guess the convenience of the ordinary Filipino in their day-to-day lives. How do you think it should be? You know, if you were the president, how would you handle something?
Well, unang-una po sa laglag bala, dapat meron ng pinaalis sa trabaho nila eh. Noon pa. Noon pa, pinaalis na yan. Dahil hindi dapat ang OFW nawawala ng trabaho, kundi ang mga nagkamali at nagkulang sa gobyerno. Ngayon, pagdating dito sa laglag bala na sinasabi natin, ano ba talaga naging problema dyan? Naging problema ay liderato. Okay. Kalain niyo na naghihiling ako ha. Tinanong ko si Aling Gloria. Sabi ko, ma'am, isang araw ba kayo na-detain? Hindi po, 2 araw. O ano nangyari nung na-detain kayo? Kinakain ba kayo? Hindi po. Ha? Paano ka, hindi ka kumain na 2 araw? Hindi po, inintay ko pa yung anak ko dumating kinabukasan para bago nakabili ng pagkain. Ang kawalan ng compassion, ang talagang nakakadismaya. Ngayon, ang tagal na nagkakaroon ng issue ng CCTV sa airport, hindi pa rin nila natugunan. Kaya nga nangyari yung mga laglag bala na yan. Ibis na agrikultura ang pinapalakas, balang tinatanim sa airport. Eh, sinasabi natin, gusto natin paramihin ang ating mga turista. Eh, paano dadami yun kung ganun nga mangyayari? Kaya nga po, kung sino man ang kabinete ko o yung mga kukunin ko, pumirma ka na kayo ng kontrata ngayon, itong deliverables ninyo. Maayos, time in motion sa airport, ganito, malinis. Kung hindi niya nagampanan yan, resignation mo na to. Tanggal na kayo sapagkat ilan ba tayo? 103 million people in the Philippines. Kulang pa tayo ng tao para malilbihan?
Yes.
Siguro naman meron talaga tayong pwedeng ipalit. Pero muli, dapat talaga natin ayusin ang sistema para maging mas accountable ang ating mga opisyales sa gobyerno.
Alright, marami pa po tayong pag-uusapan. Hindi pa rin po tayo tapos at sa ating pagbabalik, baka karinig po tayo ng mga katanungan mula sa ating audience dito po sa hall sa pagbabalik po ng Go Negosyo Talks Meet the Presidential Series. Kayo po ay nakatutok pa rin sa Go Negosyo Talks Meet the Presidential Series at tampok pa rin po sa ikatlong handog ng ating serye si Senator Grace po. At ngayon ay simula na ng ating open forum segment. Kaya kung po ng nais magtanong ay maaari lang po tumungo po sa malapit dito sa entablado. Sabihin lang po ang inyong pangalan at bigkasin ang inyong katanungan. Pero ang unang katanungan po ay magagaling po kay Mr. John Lu.
Sa internet.
Sir John Lu?
Kasi pag sa
Good afternoon, Senator Grace. Dati akong professor ng business sa UP. I must say that if you say that you're not a good lawyer, I think you're a very good business student. Dahil lahat ng puntong sinabi niyo ay
Umirap man
pang-MBA.
Bola nga.
That we're very happy that you brought them out. And siguro naman ang mga negosyante ay happy. Unang-una yung nangyari dito sa COMELEC. Damang-dama ng lahat ng negosyante. Mula barangay hanggang sabihin natin mga departments of government. We're always not discouraged by initial failures. Kaya businesses that fail tend to become more successful in the long run. And I wish you all the luck and success. Secondly, yung tungkol sa minimum wage, sana man lang, napansin siguro ng mga ating mga servers dito, may distortion yung ginawa ni Senator Cheese nga ba yun? Kasi pag in-exempt niyo yung mga minimum wage earner, they don't want to be promoted. Dahil kung tumungtong sila sa 1 peso more than their minimum wage, they'll be slapped left, slapped right, on top and under to pay for a series of taxes. Kaya sabi ng mga karamihan, Sir, don't promote me na lang. So, baka pwede pag-usapan in the next round. Okay? And then, kanina, kung pwede lang, Lucino. Coming here, I read Philippine Star, page B-6, yung kay Miss Reyes. Pinag-usapan niya yung mga problema tungkol sa mga infrastructure. My question is this: how would you conduct a cabinet meeting? Kapag nababasa mo yung mga sa Philippine Star at sa ibang pahayagan, sobrang kapalpakan talaga. Pati ba lang if we had a party in the Philippines and the highway is supposed to, the skyway is supposed to happen and nothing happened, eh hindi ba dapat the leader should be siguro naman smartphone, ano? Hello? Ano ba nangyari? Hello? Ba't hindi pa tapos? Kami mga negosyante, kami ni Joey, ni Alice, siguro naman, immediately, store manager, lagot ka na. Ba't hindi mo binuksan yung tindahan? Lagot ka na. Ba't nagsara ka ng maaga? Lagot na. Bakit mababa ang benta? Yun lang naman. Thank you.
Ako, Professor, thank you, John. Pwede ka bang mag-leave of poverty rin?
As a baker, ganun na nga, di ba?
Ganun na. Dapat nga matanong kita about flour imports from Turkey, and that's another discussion. With regards to your question, yung unang-una doon, sabi mo nga, oo nga, why would I want to rise above the minimum wage if all of a sudden my taxes will be higher? That's why nga, we have to have, sabi nga, who said it right? Peter Wallace, he said, Congress in their infinite wisdom did not even put an adjustment in inflation every so many years and legislated tax brackets. So I think that this is something that we really need to look into based on inflation. Paano na ngayon yung minimum wage if minimum wage has not caught up with inflation? Okay. So with your next point, how will I conduct meetings? You know, I came from an agency, the MTRCB, where we had 30 board members. It was a riot. Okay. Let me tell you the members that I've had there. I have an indie film director, few others. I have showbiz writers. I have lawyers. I have an Opus Dei lawyer. I have a former mass communications president of Ateneo. I have a mother. I have a businessman. In short, it's a cross-section of society. And they can probably almost wring each other's necks when it comes to certain issues. But I put them in the same page by saying this. People, adults, can watch basically anything that they want. That's their life. But we need to take care of the welfare of children when it comes to monitoring the quality of shows that they're watching. We need to be able to empower the network so that they can learn self-regulation. That's why we have that sa umpisa SPG, PG, thank you Manel for that. What I'm saying is this, you have to be able to articulate where you want to go, where you want to take the country. You have to give them importance as to what they have to say. But when it comes to working, pass your papers, tama ng daldal, give me your deliverables, and if you can't follow it, you're out. So I thank the President because somehow he gave me autonomy in how I was able to run my agency. The problem is, when you give autonomy, it has to be a person, perhaps, who will actually do the job. Because if you give too much autonomy and you don't actually monitor their progress and deliverables, well, we see what happened with the DOTC. So, I'm saying that the President has to be very involved, but not too involved as to stifle also creativity and also sufficiency or efficiency of the department. So that's it. To summarize, spell out your objectives, where we want to go, we need to be on the same page. I'll give you autonomy, but you have to be answerable for your deliverables. So, and then I will always respect what you have to say, and I will give you time. Warren Buffett said, a good leader has to have integrity, competence, and energy. But if you don't have integrity, you better pray that you don't have both. Because you don't know where you will take the country the next step. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, the next question will come from, yes ma'am, go ahead.
Aida Enriquez po from Time Trend, Micro and Small Entrepreneurs of the Philippines. Ang tanong ko po ay tungkol sa water and power utilities. Nasa isip po yan ng mga maliliit at ng malalaki. Magmula sa micro, small, medium, and large. Kung ano po ba ang ating kaisipan tungkol dito? Ano po ba ang ating magagawa para maibaba ang gastusin sa power and water? Halimbawa po sa water, napapansin po natin, all over Manila lang, hindi na po tayo lalabas ng Metro Manila. Kami po nagbabayad pati doon sa mga tubig na tumatapon. Kasama po yun sa unbundled, hindi po ba? Bakit sa amin po kukunin yun? Hindi po ba dapat doon sa investor? Di ba? Ngayon, tungkol naman po sa, sa power, ganoon din po. Yung mga sumisingit na kumukuha ng kuryente, sila na nga nakakapagsimula ng sunog. Tayo pa rin po ba ang magbabayad tungkol doon? Pwede po ba natin i-nationalize para mapilitan na itong mga investor natin ay gumawa ng tamang paraan, tamang plano para mabawasan naman ang nakakubako sa ating mga mamamayan. Pangalawang punto, yung pong mining act. Kasi po, napapansin natin, hindi lang naman po dito sa Luzon, kundi halimbawa po sa Palawan, sa Quezon, umiiyak na rin yung mga indigenous people, at saka yung pong parang, kung bubuksan po natin ang ating mining act, dito lang po sa Bulacan, at dito sa Palawan, bumabangga po yan sa turismo naman natin. Paano po ba ang ating kaisipan tungkol dito? Maraming salamat.
Natutupunin niya talaga lahat ng mga tanong na importante. Unang-una po, sabi nga nila, ang nakakabagal po ng investors dito sa ating bansa, lalo-lalo na po sa manufacturing, ay dahil po nga mataas ang presyo ng kuryente. Ngayon, balik po tayo dito sa ating EPIRA. Ang EPIRA po ay nariyan para babaan po ang presyo ng kuryente at magkaroon ng mas efficient na distribution. Ngayon, tanungin natin, nandun na ba tayo? Okay. Sa maraming lugar sa Pilipinas, may maayos naman ang daloy ng kuryente. May kakulangan, halimbawa sa Mindanao. Pero ito po nagiging problema rin dahil kaya mataas ang ating kuryente. Number one, napakahirap po talaga magtayo ng power plant dito sa ating bansa. Parang 115 steps, permits, para lamang magkaroon ng initial processing. Halos 3 taon para lang matapos yung pagkuha ng permit sa pagtayo ng power plant. Ngayon, bakit mahalaga ang pagtayo ng power plant? Kasi syempre, parang department store yan. Pag maraming nagbibigay ng supply, marami kang pinagkukuhanan, mas mababa ang presyo ng kuryente. That's why the government should really encourage investment in the power sector. Number 2, meron pong isa na napakahalaga na kailangan may open bidding pagdating sa power distributors at saka sa power producers. Open bidding para, kunyari ako, Meralco, gusto kong bumili ng kuryente, pipiliin ko dapat yung pinakamura at dapat open ang processing para walang collusion. Ibig sabihin, hindi tayo magkakayarian na sa akin mo na lang bilhin, tayo magkaibigan na lang tayo, di ba? So, bibilin ko dun sa pinakamurang nagbebenta para mapasa sa iyo yung aking natitipid. Ngayon, ano pang isang mga nagiging problema, halimbawa dito sa kuryente, talagang mag-iisip tayo dapat ng alternative and clean sources of energy. Dahil sinasabi nila, pero napakamahal naman ng alternative sources of energy Bibigyan natin, pero kailangan tayo mag-umpisa. Kasi minsan, pag hindi tayo nag-umpisa, darating din tayo sa punto when technology will be more advanced and alternative sources of energy will become more viable and will become more cost efficient. But we certainly have to start now. So ma'am, kung sinasabi nyo, isa po talaga sa solution dyan, damihan natin ang namumuhunan sa mga power plants, yung pag-aralan natin, saan ba nagkakaroon ng kakulangan? Sa transmission ba? Masyado kung mataas ang sinacharge? Kulang ba ang transmission lines natin? Dahil gusto magpatayo sa subic, pero yung transmission lines, hindi kaya yung kung kung gaano kalakas yung isusupply ng kuryente. So yung mga bagay na ngayon sa tubig mo ay ganito. Hindi ko alam kung hindi niya naabutan. Pero dati, pag binubuksan mo yung gripo sa Metro Manila, ang bagal talaga ng daloy ng tubig. Mahina po. Ngayon, at saka hindi nyo siguro na abutan to, kung hindi pa kayo, na dati talaga, hindi pa talaga. Dati, mga fire trucks nagdi-distribute ng tubig dahil kulang. Ngayon, nangyayari pa rin yan. Sa ibang lugar, lalo na pag El Niño. Pero kahit pa paano, napaayos na rin natin ang sistema ng distribution ng tubig. Ngayon, tama po yung sinasabi niyo, ma'am. Pag may mga tapo ng tubig, eh hindi natin dapat cargo yun. Diba? Ayusin kagad ng MWSS o Maynila. Pero isipin din po natin ito. Grabe po ang utang ng gobyerno noon nung sila po ang nagpapatakbo ng MWSS. At pagkatapos nun, yung serbisyo hindi pa po perfect. So sinasabi ko lang po, pag pumasok tayo sa isang kontrata, kailangan ay siguraduhin natin na makakabenepisyo ito sa taong bayan at hindi tayo maiisahan. At mabibigyan tayo ng tamang serbisyo. So, sa tanong po ninyo, sa tingin ko dapat pag meron silang kakulangan sa kanilang serbisyo, cargo nila yun at hindi dapat ang consumers. Pero huwag din natin kalimutan na malayo na rin ang pinarating natin dahil din dito sa inisyatibo ng private sector.
Mining.
O, nakalusot na ako doon. Teka muna, sino ba sa mining dito? Okay, mining ganito. I think we're the 5th most mineralized country in the world. 3rd yata yung gold. There are two schools of thoughts on this. They have both very legitimate concerns. Ang tingin ko kasi po, sa yaman ng lupa, tulad ng mining, ito po ay pamana sa atin. Ito po yaman ng ating bayan. Pwede natin gamitin para sa ating benepisyo. Pero katulad ng mga pinapamana sa atin, huwag natin ilustay. At huwag natin gagamitin sa paraan na makakasira din sa atin. So paano nangyayari yun? Nakausap ko si Gina Lopez tungkol dito sa mining. Ang sabi niya sa akin, Grace, just to be fair, why doesn't the government commission an independent scientific study on the impact on local communities of mining to see how much is really retained and what's the added value for local communities? Sabi ko, yes, this is something that we should look into. Because sometimes we can see a particular site. What will be best for it? Will it be tourism? Will it be mining? But definitely there should be safeguards for the rehabilitation of the areas. Because one time I also received somebody went to my office and said, alam niyo, sa aming probinsya talagang nung nawala ang mining sa Toledo City yata, nawala ang kanilang kabuhayan. So there are really two sides of the story. That the President has to be able to study very well, commission the best people to give the most objective analysis on it. But we cannot simply unilaterally say yes or no, but what can benefit the people most, number one, for their safety, and of course, number two, for their livelihood. So,
all right, the next question will come from our ex-panelist.
Thank you, Luci. From a panadero to a isang magsasaka. If John Lewis is a panadero, then Henry Lim is a magsasaka, si farmer. Although I'm very happy that because you mentioned Doña Maria, I think that's a free endorsement from the presidential candidate. I'm so happy. But then again, agriculture, I just want to let it be known that we have 4 million hectares of rice land in the Philippines. Only around 1.5 million hectares are fully irrigated. Now, right now, we have only around 300,000 hectares planted to hybrid. Right now, I'm the proponent really for hybrid. Hybrid is not a GMO. Hybrid is a new variety of rice in which we can double and triple the yield. It has been practiced in China, in India, and so many other countries. Right now, my question is that if you are the president, how kind of emphasis now can you give to these special types of technologies now that can really benefit the farmers? If you go to Central Luzon, you can find almost half of them are really planting hybrid, especially in Nueva Ecija, in Isabela, and Cagayan. Around 200,000 hectares are concentrated here planted hybrid. And if they only produce 3 to 4 tons per hectare, they produce more than 10 tons per hectare. And that's why the income of the farmers are really increasing now. They are making more than 100,000 pesos per hectare in a matter of only 4 months. And now we are practically changing the rural landscape of these provinces. But Mindanao, Visayas have not really fully benefited by this technology. The government is very slow in promoting this in the Bismin area. Hopefully, if you become the president, we can really promote this really nationwide. And I'm willing to put my head in the chopping block. If we have 1 million out of 4 million hectares of our rice land planted with hybrid, I can tell you we will be self-sufficient. Beyond 1 million hectares planted with hybrid, we can even be a rice exporter. So it's not only food security that we are talking, it's really self-sufficiency in rice. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So, chopping block or sa thread, magpapasagasan? So, pwede po dun sa bomb of poverty na yan. Tama po kayo. Alam niyo yung sinasabi ninyo, tatlong klaseng mga seeds, inbred, hybrid, at certified. Yung sinasabi po niyo hybrid, yan po talaga yung ating dapat ibinibigay sa ating mga magsasaka. Kasi, drought resistant, yung iba dyan, mas tumatagal ang pest resistant na mga kailangan natin. Kung magbibigay rin lang tayo ng aginaldo sa ating mga magsasaka, taas-taasan na natin ang kalidad. Diba? Kasi kung inbred lang yung binibigay natin, wala namang teknolohiya, sabi nga ni Mr. Mon, parang baliwala rin. Tama po kayo kasi kung ang yield, sabi nga nila, fertilization per hectare, nag-fertilize ka lang, triple na yung yield natin, magkano lang ang kulang natin? I'm not saying that we should romanticize and push for rice self-sufficiency at all costs, but definitely we need to help our farmers to become income self-sufficient. So, bibigyan niyo naman kami ng discount siguro sa mga hybrid varieties ninyo. So, maraming salamat sa Doña Maria sa inyong inisyatibo.
Panay na lang, ha? Yes, sir.
Very good afternoon, Madam Senator po, everyone. Ang katanungan ko po ay about the function of tomorrow basic law. Are you in favor of this function of basic law? And if not, kayo po ba ay pabor sa federalism na sinusulong ng isang presidensya po na galing sa Mindanao na mahilig obra?
Nagaling sa po. Dami na known as. Pagdating po dito sa sinasabi niyo yung Bangsamoro, isa pong balakid ang kaguluhan sa Mindanao sa pag-unlad ng ating bayan bilang isang kabuuan. Magmula 1970s until 2001, 600 billion ang mga quantify natin na nawala dahil sa kaguluhan doon. Hindi pa kasamang human suffering. Kailangan talaga ng social protection dito sa Mindanao, mga socio-economic investments. Ngayon, ako po ay panig na magkaroon tayo ng Bangsamoro basic law. Pero ang kailangan po talaga ay ang klase na to na inclusive at transparent. Yung version po na binigay sa amin ay hindi po ako sangayon doon. Marami pong mga butas doon. Yung Senate version, I am inclined to support it until we see actually its final version. Pero definitely, kung ano man ibibigay na suporta ng gobyerno, kung daw nagkakamali, parang 50 billion na yata for this year din sa ARM. Importante po may transparency para mapunta talaga sa ating mga kababayan ang pera na dapat mapunta sa kanila. Kasi kung ang magkahari-harian lang dyan ay mga iilan-ilan lang, walang consultations. Remember, Maguindanaoan tribe, may Tausog, may Maranao, help me, marami pang mga merong Badjao, Ibig sabihin, lahat tayo magkakasama para naman we all feel that we have a stake here. So yes, I'm in support of that, and many international communities and businesses support that. But we need to be able to have these safety guards. Next. Yung next question po ninyo.
Kayo po ba ay pabor dito sa federalismo na isinusulong na isang presidensya po na galing sa Mindanao na mahilig
Alam niyo po, regional empowerment and autonomy is very important. Lalo-lalo na kung magpapaligsahan yung mga yan. Ibig sabihin, anong mas magaling? Region 1 or Region 4? Di ba, pagalingan sila. They need a certain amount of autonomy and also a bigger share in revenue. On the other hand, I think we should be able to institute certain reforms first. For example, let us pass the Freedom of Information Bill. Kasi po, yung Freedom of Information Bill will give accountability. Lahat po ng mga transaksyon ng gobyerno, pati mga salary ng barangay captain to a certain salary, all the way to the top salary grade, nakapost po yan sa website. Makikita po natin kung tayo niloloko o hindi. Ang mahirap kasi na meron pa tayong mga dynastic tendencies sa ating bayan. Kung wala pong freedom of information, we cannot keep in check, lalo-lalo na pag naging parang kingdom yan na magkakahiwalay. I'm not saying I'm not for it. There's an importance to it, but we really need to be able to institutionalize certain safety measures in our Constitution.
Okay, thank you. There's another question.
Dr. Jim Sanchez po, my president. Nakita ko po na very systematic yung sumagot. Bilang isang manggagamot, nakita ko po yung importance na malaman natin ang dahilan ng problema. Kami po hindi nagagamot. Kung lagnat siya, hindi namin gagamutin yung lagnat. Hahanapin namin yung dahilan. Pangalawa, I am more into prevention. Nakita ko po, modesty aside, tumanda na po ako sa kakagawa ng surgical missions. Nakita ko na mauubos ako, pero hindi ko mauubos ito. So, in the past 8 years, more than 140 surgical missions na ginawa ko. At nakita ko ang dahilan na kung titingnan po natin, kailangan meron po tayong sistema. Dumating po ako sa punto na sabi ko, hindi makakaya ito mag-isa. So, kailangan ko ng maduplicate at kailangan ko magturo. So, nagsusulat ako ngayon ng mga libro, katulad ng First Aid for Everyone, na nationwide na po ito. Kasi sabi ko, kung meron ng bawat bahay nito at walang doktor, meron silang pangunang lunas. So ngayon pupunta po ako sa importanteng gusto kong ihatid. Ang una, ang nakita ko, ang katulad ng bansang Hapon, hindi sila nagko-concentrate sa first few years ng pag-aaral sa mga tinatawag ng math, science, English. Hindi po sila doon nagko-concentrate. Nagko-concentrate po sila una sa nutrisyon. Nutrisyon sa katawan, nutrisyon sa isip, at sa spiritual. Ano pong ibig sabihin nun? Kung nourished po ang ating mga mamamayan simula sa pagkabata, at yan ay may bibigay mo, depende sa level ng isip ng bata, magiging malusog po sila. Parang computer yan. Kung kulang po sa karga yan, mabagal ang maliit ang memory, mabagal. Therefore, in the first 5 to 10 years of life, 95% of the brain is developed. Pag hindi po nourished ang bata, mahina po yan. Maliit ang kanyang short, yung attention span niya, kanyang malilikot. Pangalawa, tatapusin ko na po, ano? Ang mangyayari po, kung mahina ang bahay, mahina ang pundasyon, magiging dishonest po ang bata. Kapag ka po yan, hindi natin tinuruan sa pagkabata ng discipline, honesty, and so on and so forth. Sa akin po, dapat ilagay po natin mula sa nursery, even sa bahay, ang pagtuturo niyan, kailangan isama po natin sa curriculum. Ang nilalagay lang po, laging concentration, English, Math, Science, etc. Pero walang nutrisyon sa katawan at sa isip. Salamat po.
Ako, Dr. Juan, maraming salamat po. Prevention, an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. Isa po sa bill na aking final po ay yung first 1,000 days of life. Kasi po, yung pagbubuntis mo ng isang babae, habang nasa sinapupunan po niya ang bata, doon po talaga nagde-develop ang brain. Kaya sabi nila, when the child reaches the age of 2 years old and you don't give the child the proper nutrition, the window of opportunity for the full development of the brain is actually shut out. That's why that's really my bill. And in fact, since the bill has not been approved yet because of the lengthy process in the legislative branch, at least in the budget, they were able to help through DSWD to put some funding. Now your question is more about prevention. I agree. The Philippines is actually the country that consumes the least amount of vegetables compared to other ASEAN countries. Para po sa atin, pag ako natin kami nagkakampanya, tuwa kami, pupunta kami let's say sa isang lugar sa tabi ng dagat, ay kaya sa bukid, in-expect namin yung pagkain namin, kung hindi mga talbos, mga seafood, di ba? Hindi. Lechon, kaldereta. Kasi po yun ang ating kultura. Kung ano po yung sa tingin natin, pagkain ng mayaman, yun ay ibibigay natin. Eh yung mga pagkain ng mayaman, pampabata po yun eh. Yung mga pagkain na talagang katulad nga ng mga sinauna, sabihin, mga gulay, mga isda, ito talaga mabuti. Kaya tama po kayo, awareness of health is very important. Frontline services are important too. We should really empower our barangay health workers. And one of the bills that I also filed is to increase the salary grade of government nurses and doctors. Kasi po, syempre, bakit ka naman magtatrabaho sa mga government hospitals kung napakaliit naman po ng kompensasyon? So hindi lang po yan sa PhilHealth, yan po ay isang holistic package. At sabi nga ninyo, spiritual rin. So habang ginagawa din yung pasyente nyo, pwede rin po ninyong kwentuhan ng mga verses ng Bible. Sinasabi ko lang po, it's a holistic development. And I thank you for calling that to mind, Dr. Juan. Thank you.
All right, we have one last question. Mr. Art.
Maraming salamat po. Arthur Clavo po, isang OFW from Baril at sa mga maliit na negosyante. Ang gusto ko lang, naintinito ko na ako mga President, sa itong aking alaala bilang suporta siya niya para sa aming susunod na mga.
Maraming salamat, Art. So po kayo kapila. Thank you po.
Ating grace po. Una po, po sa lahat po sa amin nandito po ngayon sa forum po ng Subayo ay gusto namin pasalamatan ang Go-Negosyo, ang PLD5 at ABC5 at PLDT. So po na sumusuporta po ng pagpupulong nito. Pwede po ba palakpakan po natin pwede ba bigyan natin ng mas malakas na palakpak kasi lalo po ang susunod na Pangulo ng ating Pilipinas. Thanks po! Pwede ba? Hindi po bilang sobrang pasaliwanag po kay ating kasama ng Chief Dos Valdez. Ako po yung presidente po sa Baril. Nung tayo po yung bumisita ng 1983, Saudi Marine Causeway. Ito po, kung nakalala ito po yan. Saudi Marine Causeway. Yung connection po, between Saudi and Marine. Ako po napasok po pag-assist nyo in that time in 1983. Ang katanungan po, Madam President, ito po yung malaking bahagi po para sa mga negosyante. Kami po mga OFW po ay nagkakaroon po ng contribution sa OWA. Ang gusto ko lang pong iparating sa ating Presidente, alam ko magagawa niya bilang senador pa sa oras na ngayon. Eh meron po kami pondo na hindi po namin nagagamit at napapakinabangan. Pwede po yung mga negosyante natin sa tulong ng Go-Negosyo, eh makuha namin yung pondo at tayo po sa mga negosyante na nandito po ngayon. Kasi po nasabi ko na po yung kay Sir Moon, yung nakaraang kagabi sa amin, hirap na hirap po kami kumuha ng pondo na amin ang po inilagak sa OWA. Pwede po namin kunin po yun at yung karapatan po namin. At pwede namin ilagak, pondo na po yun para dagdag sa aming negosyo. Lalo pa kung may mga negosyante na nandito po ngayon, alam po namin, magbibigay po ng saya at ligay po para sa aming pamilya. Yun ang po, Madam President.
Maraming salamat, Art, sa iyong tanong, ha? Alam niyo po, kaya ko po talaga inimbitahan at ako'y nagalak na nakasama natin sa ating Senate Slate si Ms. Tutsi Ople ay dahil nga sa mga advocacy at ganyan. Nakakalain mo, nagpo-contribute kayo doon hindi man lang ninyo magamit para man lang puhunan. So isa po yan, salamat for mentioning that, para maitulak natin na magamit ninyo upang puhunan sa isang negosyo. Ibis na hihirap kayo sa bangko, bakit hindi nyo gamitin yun? Ang isa po po sa tinutulak ni Ms. Tuts ay magkaroon na talaga ng ahensya ng OFW. Kasi alam mo ngayon, may OEA, may OWA, may iba-ibang mga lugar na pupuntahan mo. Samantala, 26 billion po pinapasok niya, pinakamalaki. We're the third highest inward remittance in the entire world, next to China and India, or India and China. Samantalang wala tayong sariling departamento para sa inyo. So dapat para isang punta na lang doon na yung registro, doon na yung picture taking, doon na yung kung ano pang seminar ang kailangan ninyo. So, nakikita ko po problema ninyo. Kayo po ay tunay na bayani na dapat naman ay maramdaman ninyo ang pasasalamat ng aming bayan. Iboto po natin si Ms. Tutsi Ople.
Pwede mo sa in-place ko. Ako ba ang senador bilang senador ko ngayon, baka naman pwede po na magwala po tayo ng isang resolusyon na nandito na po ang negosyo team na maging kataya po ng mga mga OFW at ex-OFW. Nabagayin po namin at sa tulong po ng negosyo na po namin na magagamit po namin ng tama ang pondo po ng gamit sa OWA.
Art, ibigay mo sa akin ng number mo para makapag-usap kayo ni Ms. Tutsi at siya tayo. Para magtulagan nandito pa si Mr. Juan.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you.
Thank you po, Mr. Art. Maraming salamat po sa mga tumawag sa ating open forum. At syempre po, maraming salamat po sa mga tumalo sa Go-Negosyo Forum na ito. At syempre sa ating mga panelista, si Attorney Mike, si Ms. Patricia, si Ms. Rosalie, si Ms. Mirna, of course, si May, and Mr. Juan Lopez. At syempre, ang pinaka mariing pasasalamat ay para sa ating panamuhing panglalaan sa ating